Hey, good morning, everyone. My name is Alex. I'm the marketing director here at TriStar. I'd like to introduce Colleen Garrigan, AE for PTC. She's going to give a brief demo on Mathcad 5, and thank you all for attending. Colleen, take it away.
Hi, everybody. I'm Colleen with PTC, so I'll go ahead and share my screen here. And so you should be able to see in a second my PowerPoint that says PTC Mathcad Prime. All right, and with that, we'll go. Can you see that, Alex? Just double check here.
Yep, looks good.
All right, excellent. So PTC Mathcad Prime. So Mathcad is the digital engineering notebook to perform calculations and document your design intent. So it's a software for documenting the engineering process. Okay, get started in. So there in the industry, there's a lack of standardization for processes and tools to capture calculations in intellectual property. So there's a variety of ways to document. That could be spreadsheets on computer programs in an Excel sheet, pencil and paper, manuals, engineering books. So you have all these different ways that your engineering intellectual property is kind of scattered throughout the company. Um, and it's hard if you have somebody retire or if you want to share this, that if everything is scattered from even pencil and paper and Excel workbooks, it's kind of hard to make sure everything stays together and gets passed on properly. So that means there's limited sharing and reuse of all that hard work that your other engineers have put in, have worked through. So that means that you kind of would have to start all over again with any new employees, or even if you have any new equipment or any new files that you're working on and you would like to reuse some of that stuff from the old, going back and finding all that stuff can be a real challenge. Also, errors are very hard to catch. If you're doing that standard pencil and paper just on the Excel workbook, those cells, are so hard to see into them, especially if you're writing out a long equation. It's hard to really see what the big picture is when you're working on that. So one perfect example of how errors are very hard to catch is that in 1999, NASA set up a Mars robot. And they didn't know that while they had been working in newtons to kind of send that up and to calculate the thrust needed for that robot to make it to Mars, their vendor had been using pounds of force. So that means it made it the whole way to Mars, and then the thrust was not working and it just crashed into Mars atmosphere. So instead of being up there and being able to collect weather data, they got nothing. It crashed and that was it. If they had been using Mathcad or been using some other tools to do a unit calculation check, all that would have been saved. So this would happen in the traditional ways with pen and paper. Unit errors fall through the cracks and you're left with, hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of mistakes. So Mathcad can kind of stop these errors, allow you to have one place where you can see all of the documentation from start to finish. So with Mathcad, you're able to analyze, solve, document, and share out any engineering documentation you have. So just again, what is Mathcad? It's the digital engineering notebook that you use to perform calculations and document your design intent. So it's a software specifically designed for documenting the engineering process. However, Mathcad is more than just a document, it's an engineering notebook. That's where you're going to be able to combine drawings that you make to kind of showcase or highlight any parts you'd like to. You're going to be able to import Excel spreadsheets. And not only that, but it has that strong math engine behind it where you can perform calculations, create plots that you're able to change and reuse on the spot there. And you're not doing this with a coding language. You're doing this all with, almost like you're writing on paper. You're going to write X equals and it's going to solve for you. You don't have to do and learn a whole new language in order to use Mathcad. So as you can see here, it looks just like a pencil and paper, but it's actually a lot neater than anything I especially could write. But it's going to have everything there all in one place where you can have that text to kind of describe what's going on, along with any Excel workbooks along with any graphs, and then the math engine behind it, so you can do all the calculations you need to. All right, a little bit more about Mathcad's capabilities. So it's a whiteboard interface that you can include a grid in the background if you'd like. And again, it has that natural math notation. You type in x plus y equals. You're not doing any coding to use Mathcad. And it has intuitive typing, so you don't have to try to see a little cell to see what everything's in there. You're going to be able to see everything nice and big where you want it. And it has live math, text, graphics, and programs. So it's not just calculating. You're not just using it to go ahead and solve some complicated math, but you're using it so you can keep this as a document to send to other engineers who work there, or to anybody else who needs to approve your work. You're going to be able to have all the text explaining what's going on, the images to highlight anything, as well as the hard math. And it's going to be able to convert units for you. So if you don't have to take the time to kind of think, oh man, did I use the wrong decimal place there, or is that right? It's going to be able to do any of those conversions for you. So you can add inches and feet and yards together, and it's going to tell you in the end what units end up being. So it'll tell you, as you can see right here, you see this is in inches. You can just change that inches to feet, and it'll change to feet for you. You don't have to do that calculation yourself. So that's what in the end is really going to save you time and money, because you don't have to worry, and you don't have to double check anybody's errors or try to search through Excel workbooks to see if that unit was indeed changed. And you can use Mathcad as your scrapbook. You can be trying to figure something else there, but you can change that into your final document that's ready to share. Just add in some text there to describe what's going on, and you have that final document that's ready to send out. All right, so self-documenting, you can use it as scrap paper and then change it into that final document, so you're not switching between, any sort of Microsoft product that you need to kind of send off to everything. This is going to look like a concise, together, fully documented workbook. All right, so it's a WYSIWYG document editing. That means what you see is what you get. So you don't have to change the format to print. You can save it off as a PDF. It's going to look exactly like it does when you're working with it in Mathcad. There's a huge function library of math notation, solving, data analysis, statistics. So you don't have to redefine or teach the system a function. It's already there built into Mathcad just for you to select on and type in whatever values or variables you'd like to use. And then you can also build powerful and explaining plots, XY plots, polar plots, contour 3D plots, and they're live plots, so they're based on the data that you put before it. So they're not just an image of a plot. There's something that you can stretch it out, change the units, and so you have a lot of different options of how you want to display the data that you're defining up above. Another huge benefit of Mathcad is that it's fully integrated with Creo Parametric. So you by no means have to use it with Creo Parametric. It's such a strong tool by itself. But one little bonus feature it has is that it can send values into Creo Parametric, and it can also take values from Creo Parametric. So you can really, while you're working in Creo Parametric, while you're making a new model, you can document your design intent, and it'll be connected with that model. So if you send someone else out your model, you can also send this Mathcad workbook, and it will fully document any design decisions that you've made. It also really communicates. So you're doing that analysis-driven design. You're taking variables, parameters, and calculations from Creo into Mathcad, and then you can work with those values, do any analysis, do any verification or validation checks that you need. And then you can do calculations with that and send it back into Creo. So if you need to find a different dimension, you can do all the calculations you need to in Mathcad and then just push it back into Creo. And again, you can use this feature to validate and verify that the design decisions you're making are actually going to work for any end requirements you have. So with Creo and Mathcad being able to talk and to communicate with each other really extends the usefulness of both. All right, with that, I'm going to take us into a short demonstration here, which is going to not only showcase all the capabilities I talked about there, but it's also going to showcase what's new in Mathcad Prime 4.0 and in Mathcad Prime 5.0. So I will point those out as we go through here. So just give me 1 minute. I'll switch us over here. All right, so here we are. We have a blank workbook open, but let's go ahead and dive in. So we're going to go ahead and have this open up this started workbook that I have. So I'm going to start off by showing that if you remember, I was talking about not only is it a place where you can calculate out stuff, but it's also where you're documenting. So we're going to take this title page, it looks almost like a, Word doc here. We're just formatting it, changing that title to however we'd like it to look. We can toggle off and on this grid here in the background. If you think it's easier to read with the grid or without the grid, you can go ahead and make that decision. All right. So again, we have something fully describing the math as we're going here. So what I'm going to do is, this is new in Mathcad Prime 4.0. Is that any drawing you have, it's actually, you can make it a container. So I made that, it's called an OLE container. So I have that container right in Mathcad, where I'm going to go ahead and double click, and it's going to bring me straight into PowerPoint. And what I'm going to do is I can make any small edits, any changes that I need to. So it doesn't have to be PowerPoint. You can also do this in Microsoft Paint or some other drawing tools. So we're going to go ahead and just recolor some of my lines here, make them pop out a little more. And then I'm going to exit out. It's going to save in PowerPoint, and it's going to update in Mathcad here. So I can make those quick, easy changes, not having to do that couple extra steps of saving it in PowerPoint and then rebringing it in Mathcad. I can go ahead and just double click. It's going to open. I can make those changes very easily. All right, as you can see, I'm setting some variables here by just typing B equals and D equals, and then we can go ahead and do a quick moment of inertia calculation here with our variables. And let's say I accidentally type in H here when I really meant to type in D, and we'll see what Mathcad does with it. So as I go ahead and solve out for I there, I see that there's a whole bunch of units attached to it that I don't really know where those are coming from. So let me go ahead and ask Mathcad, okay, what is H? I see that I accidentally typed that in the I there. And it'll pop up for me with the actual variable says Planck's constant. So again, you have all these variables that are preset into Mathcad that you can use. So Mathcad already has a lot of variables and a lot of functions built into it, and Planck's constant is just one of them there. So we ask Mathcad, what is H? It tells us, and we say, oh, never mind, that's not what I wanted in my equation at all. I meant to type D. All right, and then once I click out of it, it'll update for me, and you see that I already recalculated. Let's go ahead and add in some units onto B and D here. And you will see that I is doing the same thing. It's updating for me there. So you see that Mathcad's default unit here is meters. If we want to go ahead and change that, we can just change that M to cm for centimeters, and it'll also recalculate right there in centimeters. So you don't have to think about that conversion. There won't be any mistakes. Simple, easy mistakes, that always happen was trying to change the units of whatever variable you'd like. All right, so here we're going to test Mathcad. We're going to say we want to add B, that's centimeters, together with seconds. And it's going to tell us you can't do this. You can't add centimeters and seconds. Maybe you accidentally typed in the wrong variable there, but we're not going to let you add these together. So it's very nice as well. It's going to not let you make any simple errors like that. All right, what I'm going to showcase for us here a little bit is how well Mathcad can communicate with Excel. So I'm sure that there's a lot of Excel workbooks, that you really don't want to spend the time and retype in all those values again for Mathcad. So what you're going to do is you're going to open up your Excel in Mathcad here, tell them what rows and columns you'd like to bring in, and then insert it into the Mathcad workbook directly here. So it's going to read the Excel, those columns and rows that you gave it, and we can just have those 4 by 3 if we'd like. So we can, while someone's reading through this, they can go ahead and see what exact values you're bringing in. Okay, say if we were updating it and say, oops, actually we wanted not that matrix, we wanted one line above it. We can go ahead and update that there, and it's going to read live and bring in those values from Excel for us. Okay, so it's one thing to have this all brought in, but it's another to actually do calculations out with those Excel numbers that we're bringing in. So let's go ahead and we're just going to use some matrix notation there to bring in the second column, first row here to do out a calculation and see what that value would be in pascals. All right. So again, so you're not just being able to see what's in that Excel, but you're being able to do calculations with it and actually be able to work with it. All right, let's go through and define some variables that I see on my picture here and that we'll use later on down in the workbook. So again, just typing these things out, you're having it in this format that is very descriptive about what these variables are, while you have a picture so you can visualize what they actually mean as well. Okay. So we're another stop here as well. So this is new in Mathcad Prime 4.0. So what this is this a protect area. So you're able to put in a password, so only people who have this password can make either any changes, or even you can make it so it's collapsed. So only people who have the password can see. So that could be very important if you're sending on your Excel, your Mathcad workbooks onto vendors or somebody else. You really don't want them to be able to see your intellectual property. You can make areas that are collapsed and password protected. We'll keep this expanded for now. We're going to protect this area so you can't make changes to it. Okay. So we'll go ahead and calculate out the deflection here with the variables we set up before, like L. And we see that the standard is meters, but we'll go ahead and change it to millimeters and it'll update for us automatically. All right, so this is just showing off that Mathcad isn't limited to just numeric calculations. It can also do symbolic calculations here. So that can help you work out if you want to really dive into what you're going to end up with a calculation all with variables. You can go ahead and use Mathcad to do this as well. And this is just some background derivation that you can have within your Mathcad workbook. And if you're passing this on to vendors or anybody else who needs to double check your work, you might not want this to be up there in the open for them, or maybe they don't really need to understand what's going on. So you can make it just a collapsible area. And if someone wants to do the deep dive and see what work is behind there, they can go ahead and open that up and take a look, but you can collapse it so it's not distracting to anyone who might not want to see it. So again, we can easily change out these units, have it whatever you'd like it to be. So here are some nice plots so we can really visualize what's going on here. We'll edit one of those in a second here. But first I want to show you, so this is also new in Mathcad Prime 4.0, is that this Excel workbook is a container. So I double click there and it brings me straight to the Excel workbook. So before we saw that we made that read Excel where it's reading those Excel and we do calculations with it. Well, here it takes it a step further and it adds it in as a container so we can actually see from Excel what we're bringing in, what we're using. And any changes, any formatting changes that we make in Excel will also change in Mathcad here as well. So we'll go ahead and make a couple of small formatting changes. We'll exit out of it and then it'll update in Mathcad for us. So it's a really nice feature if having that grid is really important. You don't have to go ahead and do any of the work to make a grid yourself. You can just reuse any Excel data or make Excel to bring in so you can really visualize what's happening there. All right, and then we'll make a plot from that Excel workbook here. And this is new on Mathcad Prime 5. So the new thing with Mathcad Prime 5 is that you're able to have full control of the formatting of your 2D charts and graphs. So you don't have to be limited anymore with visualizing your data. So we're going to go ahead and walk through here and make some changes, like give it a background color, go ahead and make a legend. And also with Mathcad 5.0, you're no longer limited to one y-axis line here. So you see we have one big line here, but then we also have two vertical markers. So you're no longer, and those could also be, those don't have to be vertical markers. They could be full lines if you'd like them to be. But we'll go ahead and give titles to our X and Y axis, give it a chart title. So again, you have full control in this nice window that pops up. So you don't have to go and find where all this formatting is. You double click it and it pops up all the formatting options you have. So I'll go ahead and finish describing our legend here. But this is the main new feature with Mathcad Prime 5.0 is this full control of how your 2D graphs look. And that can be really important if you're trying to get a message across to somebody that this is what I'm trying to tell you. This is my main message. You know, with you being able to call attention to whatever you'd like in the formatting can make a big difference. Okay. So we went ahead and formatted this graph here. So this is just doing some more complicated programmable Mathcad work here, but what I want to focus on is how you can visualize this data that comes up here. So you can make a contour plot, and then what we're going to do is we're going to make a 3D plot. So you see that a 3D plot went ahead and popped up from those values we had before. And again, we can also format this to make it look up either up to your standards or company standards. So we can go, and this is alive. You see that we can rotate this around, zoom in around. You know, it's not just a picture of a 3D graph here. It's something that is, you can change the settings, you can move it around, do whatever you'd like. All right, great. So that was the short demo that I had for you guys in Mathcad Prime 5.0. You saw some of those new features include having that container to either pop up drawings or the Excel, and then having full control of how you want to visualize your data. So I have a couple more slides that we can wrap up here. Okay. So this kind of reviews what was new with the Mathcad Prime 4.0 release, is that we had some strong performance enhancements. Oops, excuse me there. We had some strong performance enhancements, so you could be able to document better, and you can also plot more X, Y coordinates. All right. And then we also have it set up that you can have that content protection. And that's what we saw during the demo here, is that we made a password to protect that area. So if you're sending it off to vendors or anybody else who really didn't want them to change or maybe even able to view any of your intellectual property, you can go ahead and have control of that. There's also more interoperability with other third-party apps. So that's what we saw, where we were going to go ahead and double click on that drawing we had, and it brought us straight into PowerPoint to make that images. So that was really simple and easy. We didn't have to do any crazy moving back and forth between different programs. We just exited out of that and it updated right in Mathcad for us. You can also now copy and paste large regions straight into Word. It's also easier to do equation breaks with Mathcad Prime 4.0. It fixed some Windows 10, sorry, it made it better for Windows 10 support, and then it fixed some critical bugs. All right, so this talks a little bit more about that content protection, and that's what we saw on the demo here too, is that you have control. If you don't want someone to see variables or equations, you can make that area that you can collapse and hide from anybody else you're showing. We also saw that we were able to double click on that image and it brought up PowerPoint. And this picture here, it's bringing up Visio, a different Microsoft drawing or documentation tool. But we can double click and make those changes, and it's going to update automatically straight into Mathcad. This is where we made it easy, where you can go ahead and copy and paste large sections straight into Word. So that kind of helps you be able to reuse your Mathcad in a lot of different ways. So you can do it and keep the source formatting, so it won't change how it looks in Mathcad when you go ahead and bring it into any other different programs. Okay, so this is more about Mathcad Prime 5.0. This is where we went through and we were able to format out um, that graph that we saw. So you see that we're no longer limited to one line. We have 3 going on here. And as I click through, we'll be able to see the formatting change with this graph here. So we go ahead and we added in some styles. We can add in some titles, axis, and plot appearance, make some differences. You have the choice of your fonts and styles. We'll keep going here. You can add grid lines, value markers. You can, again, add in those titles so you can really describe the important parts of your graph. You can have those popping out axis titles so no one gets confused about what exactly they're looking at. You can also add in and edit legends and data lines here. So we see that we keep formatting and this keeps looking a little better and you have better understanding of what you're trying to showcase on this graph here. All right, and then in the last couple slides here, we'll just go through really what value Mathcad can bring to you. So it's a powerful tool that's going to protect your intellectual property. So you can share your knowledge with your whole enterprise and make critical design intent available with convenient storage. So you can pass this on to somebody else working on a next version of a project, or from if you have a vendor who you need to share some information with, you can have all that together and not have to search through emails, search through Word docs, Excel documents to find everything you need. You can have it all in one place in this workbook that fully documents your design intent and any calculations you need to do. And we also have, you can use it with Creo if you need to optimize your design decisions, can send values back and forth. And then you're going to improve your product quality if you have that tool that can catch any errors like unit errors or adding wrong units together. It's going to catch them for you so they don't fall through the cracks. You can also use it to speed up your time to market if you're able to send this off and people can get up to speed quicker about what you're trying to do. And then you can also use it to improve compliance with regulations. All right, and my last slide here just talks about what this new formatting for the graphing can really bring to you. So you can compare the data sets with ease if you're able to have multiple lines here on our grid. The data can be represented quickly and decrease your time to market. And you can create a plot that's better suited for showing off what you're trying to tell people with your document here. So you can communicate better and really enhance the visualization of your data. All right, so thanks so much for attending the webcast today. I will stick around for a couple minutes, and if anyone has any questions, they can type them in. But thanks for listening to the webcast, and I really hope you enjoyed and learned some about Mathcad.
Yeah, thank you so much, Colleen. If you'd like to learn more about Mathcad, you can visit our website. We do have Mathcad Express up there, which does give you full access for 30 days. There's also a video collection with all the different features of Prime 5.0 and the various versions, as well as our current offers. So if there's no questions, thank you everyone for joining and have a great rest of the week. Thank you, Colleen.
No problem.